How you doing, everybody? Scott Jelinek here with the Master Investor Academy. I got my boy Vince sitting here with me. I wanted to do a video for you today on, I call them scams, but they're really not scams. These are hard money. The way hard money works and what I consider a scam or misdirection for people. I just went through this with a client of mine, and I couldn't get it through the heads about the way it's being misrepresented. And it's simple math, so most of you can do this simple math, but I just wanted to explain to you exactly the way it works, where some people charge points and interest, some people just charge a straight interest rate, but for a smaller term. And so I wanted to explain to you the way that works exactly. So first and foremost, I want to explain to you what hard money is. Hard money is money that's being loaned to you short term for renovation purposes. This is not money you're going to use for your rentals. This is not money you're going to use for holds, slow flips. This is money you're strictly using to rehab something so that you can put it back on the market. And when you sell it, then you pay off your lender. Now, the rates and terms will vary all over the place. Some lenders will give you all the money. They'll even give you the money for the rehab. Some lenders will just give you part of the purchase price, but you have to fund the rehab yourself. Some lenders want you to have 10 grand in, 20 grand in. They all make up their own minds and their own decisions on what they are. What I really wanted to talk to you today is about rates. So I just had this conversation with somebody, and it seemed, I've had this in the past, and I remember it seemed mind-boggling to me on how much misconception and misdirection there is with the rates. So I'm going to give you two examples to explain to you two different ways different lenders charge. So there's one lender that charges 5 points, 15%. So does everybody know what points are? Points are, it's a percentage that you pay right on top of it today. So for instance, if you borrowed $100,000 today, say it's 5 points. Today you owe 105. Then he charges 5 points, 15%, which means if you borrow $100,000, today you owe 105, and now you're paying 15% interest on 105,000. Everybody got that? There's another lender, same local market, who, and he's doing absolutely nothing wrong, mind you. This is just his business model, where he says, no, it's a flat 10%, which sounds really good. But then when you find out the details, so I asked them, I said, so it's just 10%? She said, yeah, just 10%. I said, no points? No, no points. I said, so that's awesome. 10% is a fantastic deal for hard money. But then when I found out the rest of the story, it's 10% for 4 months. Everybody with me on that? 10% for 4 months, which is 30%. 10% for 4 months is 30% annualized. 15%, 5 points and 15%, that 15% was annualized. So 10% for 4 months is 30% annualized. And then he said, no, but they'll do an extension. If you need to go to 6 months, they'll charge another 5%. So I wanted to break down the math for you in case you were one of those people that are comparing rates between lenders so you can see the difference and the way it works. So first and foremost, if you borrowed $100,000, I'm going to break this out over a 6-month period. If you borrowed $100,000 at 5 points and 15%, the 5 points are tacked on right away, so you owe $105,000 on day one. Now it's accruing at 15%. That's going to be a total of interest on top of the $5,000 that was points, total interest of $7,875, which means the total you owe at 6 months is $112,875. So you borrowed $100,000. 5,000 right off the bat was points, and then you paid 15% interest for 6 months. So you now owe a total of $112,875. This other deal that was so cheap, he's only charging 10%, no points, just 10% flat. But if you go 6 months, it's another 5%. There's no points, and it's not really an annual interest rate. That's a percentage of your loan. So it's almost like the whole thing's points. If you did that cheaper loan at $100,000, it comes out to, in 6 months, you owe a total of $115,000. So now they're very close. One was $112,875 and one was $115,000. It's not that one's a scam. They're both actually doing great business, and that's their business model. There's nothing wrong with it. Where the problem comes in is the misconception with people, where they only hear what they want to hear. They hear this guy said 5 points, 15%, and this guy said 10%. Which one sounds cheaper? You know the answer to that. So the 10% sounds way cheaper, only it's not 10%. If you annualized it, it's 30%. And this is the third time this has come up. And each time when I've spoken with somebody, they're like, no, there's no anything else. It's just 10%. And that sounds to me, I'm like, that is a really good deal. If you're using a hard money lender, straight 10%, no points is a great deal. Then when we get into it deeper, I find out, no, it's 10% for 4 months, which is annualized at 30% interest. No longer such a good deal. Anyway, if any of you guys are doing fix and flips and using hard money, I just wanted to point that out to you while you're meeting with different lenders and you're getting their rates. Make sure you compare the whole thing. The easiest way to do that is to literally make columns, put the numbers down, and then figure it out for 6 months. Then do the next one and figure it out for 6 months. Don't just go by the words that are coming out of the mouth, because it sounds really cheap to say it's 10%, but you got to factor the whole thing for the period of 6 months. Even though you may get it done sooner, you still got to factor on the 6 months. That's all I wanted to share with you today, and I just wanted to make sure that if you're in this part of this business, if you're in the rehab part, you have that clear in your head, because it's essential. You will pay a lot more money by thinking you're getting a deal, and you have to just spell it all out on paper, and you guys are going to get the right rate, and you're going to get the deal done. Some other things to factor on, and I know you're ready to go. Sorry for holding you up. Some other things to think about is there's certain lenders who will give you all the money. They'll cut you a check for your purchase price, your rehab, everything. They may charge a little bit more. Then you may find a guy, these online hard money companies, they're like, oh, it's only 2 points and 9%, all this great magic going on, but they only loan you 80% of it, and you got to do surveys and appraisals and all this. Well, if you have the money, then that's a fantastic option. You can just borrow the 80%. But if you're just starting out and you don't have any money, you're going to pay a higher rate, but you're going to have all the money funded. So there's a lot of different things to weigh with it. The one last tip, the most important thing I want to share with you is don't ever count the money in another man's pocket. Please remember that always. Yes, your lender is going to make money off of you. However, you're not going to make any money if you don't do the deal in the first place. So remember that. Don't worry about how much they make. Only worry about how much money you make. Don't ever count the money in another man's pocket. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoy these videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Share it so more people can hear this message. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.